All right, boys, orders just came in from Vader's bitch ass, and me and Greg are headed to Endor. Forest mission, easy terrain, little recon work. Should be chill.
Okay, Greg, I'm telling you, I've seen like 5 of those little teddy bear looking things. One of them had a spear.
Well, guess they were real.
I thought you were joking.
We're gonna die in a tree hammock because of you, Greg.
We got out! Greg chewed through the net like a psychopath, and now the teddy bears are chasing us. They're throwing things! Greg, why are they so fast?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Quest Me. I love those stupid little AI Stormtrooper vlogs. Definitely follow those guys on the TikToks because they're hilarious, and I'm going to continue to find some shit like that and play it during these shows because it's a good time. Anyway,
what a time we're living in.
Yeah, the AI thing is crazy.
Yeah,
there's like
just see the Jesus one and the Moses one.
I have not, but I'm gonna find it now.
Yeah.
That lovely voice you're listening to is Roy, our guest this week. I am pleased to have him on to talk about what we are talking about, and of course, we got Phil here. How are you doing, Phil?
I'm doing all right. Glad to have Ro in with us tonight.
Woo-hoo.
Absolutely. Ro, when was the last time you were with us?
I don't know. It seems like just yesterday.
I think it was Acolyte. Did you come on for Acolyte?
Yeah, we did. We did some Acolyte talking. Yeah.
That was a good time. Well, this time you're here to help us through the confusing and controversial and somewhat game-changing World Between Worlds. It should be a very lovely discussion. That's kind of what we're doing here at Quest Me now, is talking about random things of Star Wars. I wanted to keep this show going because I love Star Wars, and there's a lot.
I'm glad we convinced you.
Yeah. Thanks for keeping me going over there. I think before I don't want to forget this week, because last time we did a show, I completely forgot about what I was doing. So I'm gonna not do that this week. But I already forgot to upload the video to the StreamYard. So you're gonna have to give me a second. Ro, what have you been doing lately? You were just doing like a show before this, right?
Well, I was. We have in our Red 5 Network Discord on Sunday nights. We have a book club, so we have been getting together on Sunday nights to talk about Reign of the Empire, which is kind of a prequel to the Andor series. This takes place, right in that little sweet spot before the events of the Andor television series. And tonight we had Tom, who is the editor of the book, getting some insight from them. But yeah, if you guys are into, and tonight actually was a conclusion of our discussion about the book. It was 67 chapters or something like that.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, take a look at the book if you're really into the backdoor dealings during that time frame in Star Wars politics. If you're really into Star Wars politics, check it out. It's I want to say it's very dense because it does deal with Star Wars politics, like I said, but
Sure.
It's such an interesting it's an interesting read. You've got the main characters are basically Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, and Saw Gerrera.
Okay.
So if you guys are into those characters,
I'd say you already have my attention. So
yeah.
That's got to be. Do you see a little bit more of like Mon Mothma's backstory with her husband and stuff, and like all the gambling stuff that?
There's a little bit of that, but there is something that Mon Mothma is trying to pass. There's a legislation that she put into motion, and it gets really, really into the nitty gritty of how she tries to convince other senators. There's a couple of missions that happen. Some kidnappings, some drama here and there. There's some really, fascinating new characters. And, you know, I think it's worth at least checking out the Cliff Notes if you got them. Sure. But yeah, it just came out earlier this year, and Reign of the Empire is going to be it's the first of a trilogy.
Okay.
Basically.
Oh,
so
yeah. Hitting
different
the next 2 years.
Yeah. So
Nice.
different
Very
authors
cool.
and yeah, always a lot of fun.
Yeah. I always like reading the what did we do? The last book we did was the Thrawn series, I think. But the last actual book that I read was the Darth Plagueis series, or the Darth Plagueis book from Legends.
Nice.
And I thoroughly enjoyed that book. And then after really understood why people were upset with the Acolyte.
Yes.
And I just we were talking about it a little bit in our chat last week. I started digging through Star Wars, the Rise and Fall of the Galactic Empire.
Yeah.
Is just this.
That seems really interesting too.
It is spectacular. It's basically just people like it's an in-universe nonfiction work. So it's like historians within the Star Wars universe looking at the very brief 24 years of Palpatine.
The Empire. Huh.
Yeah, it's kind of fabulous.
I'm really intrigued by that too, because is it like future people, like way in the future, like
no,
almost like a Discovery Channel documentary.
It's written basically in the immediate aftermath of the events of Rise of Skywalker.
I just imagine like alien style with George Tsoukalos up there, like telling you there was an empire and it was evil.
Sure, Gramps. Sure.
Yeah, no, it's when Sheev Palpatine declared the birth of his new empire, he expected it would stand for thousands of years. Instead, it lasted only 24. This is the story of how a tyrannical regime rose from the ashes of democracy, ruled the galaxy with an iron fist, and then collapsed into dust.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, that's pretty solid too. So
heck yeah.
It's a really good time to be a Star Wars fan and have all of these books out, because man, as a librarian who also loves Star Wars, I am just
thrilled.
I am eating good right now.
Yeah,
man. It's
sure.
I thought Star Wars was dead.
somehow, somehow Star Wars returns.
Nice.
Oh my goodness. Well, on that note,
I'm looking for a drink.
Where are you going, Master? For a drink?
Do you have spiced tea?
we are going to a bar far away with our good friend Phil, as we always do. So tell us, what are we drinking tonight?
So I came up with a horrible name and had to do something with it.
Okay.
Because the world between worlds deals so much with the Mortis gods. I present to you the Malortis gods.
Okay.
This is equal parts lime juice, agave nectar, and Malort.
It's pretty easy.
It is pretty easy.
I was thinking you were gonna do something like a Long Island, and you were gonna mix the father, son, and
no. Here I'm just playing with the name. So the Malortis gods, Malort, for those of you who are unaware, is a liqueur produced in Chicago, and it is very astringent.
Ro, what do you know about that?
Yeah.
Ro, you don't know anything about Chicago, do you?
I'm making some back here now.
It's very astringent and very bitter, but it is a very herbal, funky, kind of complex flavor profile. I try it sometime. It's one of those things that it's an acquired taste, and a lot of the people who try it don't wish to acquire that taste.
Is fair.
But in this case, it ends up being kind of counterbalanced by the tartness of the fresh lime juice, because I just squeezed these limes last night. So fresh squeezed lime juice and the agave just balances it out. So you get it tastes a little bit like bitter lime. So like if you get too much into the pith of the white part of the lime rind, biting into a bit of lime. But
available at Binny's.
Awesome. It's not the worst thing I've made with Malort in the last week. It's one of like 4 different cocktails I've tried making with this stuff this week. So,
all right,
yeah,
it's not.
As always, like, drink responsibly. But
yeah, sounds like it's a little too much of an acquired taste for the likes of me.
Just too Malorty.
too Malorty,
yeah. But I might have to take my idea of a Long Island with the father Jose, the son Jack.
See, now you're just heading into 3 wise men territory. Right. You get Jack, Jim, and Johnny.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for that, Phil.
Yeah.
As always. We are, like I said, we're doing a little bit different of episodes now that there's not really something to review. We just finished up with Andor and Rogue One. But I figured we'd start with a little bit of just kind of discussing some of the releases that are coming up and if we're excited about them or not. We did have Celebration, like a month ago or something like that. And there were some things that were announced that I didn't even think to talk about on the Andor series. There was so much to talk about every week with 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So right now there's really only, it looks like 4 things that are solid, concrete, have release dates. And that's Star Wars Visions Season 3, The Mandalorian and Grogu, which they should still change the name of that movie. Maul Shadow Lord, and then Star Wars Starfighter. So we're getting, it looks like an animated series and a film each year, basically. So this year we get Visions 3 this year we get Visions 3, and then in a few months we get Mandalorian Grogu, and then that year we get the Shadow Lord series, and then in a few months after that we get Starfighter. So which one of those 4 are you most excited about, Ro?
I have always said that Star Wars animation has been consistently good throughout the last few years, even more so than the live action stuff. So
Sure.
I really enjoyed Visions season 2 a lot. So I'm looking forward to season 3. Looking forward to new animation styles, new stories. The stories were well written. The animation was fabulous. So Visions season 3 is one of those things that it's kind of off the beaten path for Star Wars, but I really, really love it. And then, again, getting back to animation, the Darth Maul Shadow Lord is something that I'm looking forward to as well. After hearing Sam Witwer talk a little bit about it during Celebration. He's one of the things that intrigues me, and I love a good bad guy. As you know, I've got Darth Vader looking over my shoulder here, but it's he mentioned and he said that it's not about good guys versus bad guys. It's about bad guys versus worst guys. So really, really looking forward to what kind of stories they'll be able to tell.
Yeah, so the Maul one is interesting to me because I'm wondering if they're going to bring back like Kira and the other guy
Kinlan
from
Voss.
Solo, Voss. Yeah, like I feel like they might try and tie up that story a little bit.
They definitely
you guys
could. I mean, that was
they left it on such a last
it was
Last Jedi really ruined Solo because I really feel like they were going to do a trilogy of sorts with that because it seemed like they were going to do the Solo movie and then Lando, and then I wholeheartedly believe that it was going to be a Maul movie at the end where they all have to team up to fight Darth Maul.
Originally I heard that it was going to be a Solo movie, a Boba Fett movie that kind of crossed.
Oh,
and then the third one would have been Maul with the underworld. Obviously, Boba Fett gets involved.
Gotcha.
So that would have been fantastic.
That's much better than what I thought. Yeah. Gosh, and then they really got skittish after the Last Jedi backlash for sure, because nobody went and saw Solo. It was like one of the probably still the lowest grossing movie, right? I'm pretty sure.
Based on what they spent on it.
Right.
For sure. Yeah.
Which I liked Solo. I didn't mind
it was
Solo. Fun. It was, it was hard getting used to the new Solo and whatever, but after 30 minutes, you're like, yeah, okay, I can believe it. And Childish Gambino playing Lando was awesome. So,
right.
The new studios that are coming for Visions 3, it looks like Anima, Wit Studio, Project Studio Q, Polygon Pictures, and David Production. Have you heard of any of those, Phil? I'm not an anime guy or anything, so I don't really.
None of, and you rattled them off real fast. I'll have to.
Sorry.
Nah, it's all good. I hadn't had a chance to go look at the list of stuff for season 3 of Visions, so I had not seen the list at all. So
I have faith. The first 2 seasons were so good that it doesn't even matter. It's just
I mean, I know Studio Trigger, I know Production IG.
Okay.
Yeah, Studio Trigger. They're doing some absolutely phenomenal stuff. Did you ever see Promare?
No.
Sci-fi, kind of a sci-fi firefighting series, not series, but movie, just like a movie, but same animation studio also did, want to say, Gurren Lagann.
Huh. All right.
Yeah. So mecha anime kind of stuff.
I gotcha. That, I mean, again, I have faith that it's all going to be good anyway, because they've all been good. You guys know I'm most excited for Mandalorian and Grogu, because I'm so excited to see the end of that story. I guess if they end it, I don't know if they're going to end it there or end it with Ahsoka season 2, but I guess we'll see. Because I feel like Thrawn is going to be the Thanos of this whole Mandoverse, and everyone's going to have to team up. So
I can see that. I can see that happening, and it's a shame because I should be excited for a Star Wars movie. I'm just not.
Yeah,
it's
Filoni and Favreau. Favreau's done some good stuff. The writing and the dialogue has been iffy sometimes. I've been watching a lot of Mandalorian, going back, and when you're watching it later on after reviewing it and loving it so much, I do at least. I have a little bit more of I criticize things a little bit harder, and there's some dialogue where I'm like, oh god, okay. So hopefully that gets a little cleaned up, but Starfighter is also intriguing. I mean, Ryan Gosling, and then
what do you guys feel about big stars in Star Wars movies?
I'm
pro, against, middle of the ground,
mixed.
I don't
mixed.
know.
I mean, when the original Star Wars, when Episode 4 first came out, there were a lot of big name actors in that.
They had to convince them with jets, though.
No, I just mean celebrity casting has always been kind of a part of things,
but not the main character casting, though.
No,
there have always been side characters.
Yeah, so
Ryan
it'll
Gosling,
be interesting to see.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I'm like, it could be good, it could be terrible.
Yeah. No, and I guess honestly, for me, that's really going to depend on the story they're trying to tell.
Sure.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
There's so many other things that are in development too, and then other. Those are the top 4 things that are actually coming out, and hopefully they'll be all right.
Yeah. Digging through some of those other studios though. Yeah. We've got the folks behind JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. We've got the people who did Rising of the Shield Hero. We've got
Okay.
There's a lot of really good. Ghost in the Shell production. IG is the studio that did Ghost in the Shell.
Okay.
So yeah, no, there's a lot of really good studios involved
bit-
in this. This should be fun.
I feel like a little bit bigger studios are coming to the fold now too, because
I mean,
they've
that's
gotten so popular.
yeah.
But
So
that'll be sweet. That's this year, October 29th. when
yeah,
that comes out. So
yeah, ought to be good.
yeah,
Um,
they do that episodically, don't they? Do they release that once a week, or have they done it in bulk when they release those?
No, I think it has been in bulk.
Okay, because
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
so
pretty sure
short.
pretty sure it's the whole season
they're
just kind of
shorter, yeah.
dropping.
Okay. Who knows? They're greedy. They're gonna be like, you know what? You can wait a week for your next 15 minutes. Screw you guys.
Right.
Cool. Well, yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about when it comes to like news. Any other news or rumors I saw were all just kind of dumb. I don't know. I can't believe anything I read on the internet anymore. It used to be like back in the day, you had some okay sources on the internet, and now they're all trash. Clickbait crap. So this week I really wanted to talk about the world between worlds. There's two things that I wanted to talk about first before we really start getting into like other Star Wars things, and that was the World Between Worlds and the Mortis trilogy, because those to me are some of the most intriguing storylines and like plot lines in Star Wars, because there's just so much lore to it that we don't know that I want to know more about. So I love theorizing about this. I had a little get together last night, and we were talking about the World Between Worlds, and I love talking about this stuff. So I'm excited to kind of get into it and break it down a little bit. First things first, I want to let's go to the Wikipedia, obviously, because that's like what you read when it comes to this stuff, right? Isn't that how that works? But what's your initial thoughts, Ro, on the World Between Worlds before I read like official descriptions and things like that? Like what have been your thoughts on it?
I think the concept is intriguing. I know before we started rolling, I was mentioning that it's one of those concepts where people either really like it and is thought provoking to them, or you really hate it. To me, I like it. I like thinking about that sort of thing outside the box, timey-wimey sort of stuff. We'll get into it deeper in a minute. But I enjoy the concept. I like the concept. I think it's an intriguing concept for Star Wars. And we'll play a clip later. I feel like it's always been there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you sent me that clip, and I was like, holy shit. It has always been there. We just like whoever Dave Filoni finally just pulled it out of his ass and was like, let's do something with that. Let's
Gave
make
it a
something out of
name.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Phil, what about you? What did you think about the World Between Worlds the first time you saw it?
I've always been a sucker for kind of the interstitial places, for the in between. I loved it. Gosh, kindergarten, when I was reading Chronicles of Narnia, they have the wood between the worlds.
Yeah.
Where they jump in and out through these pools. I just always loved the idea of just a place that could lead you anywhere, connect, hub worlds.
Yeah.
Always loved them.
I think
Filoni did a really good job of implementing this one. And I like the implication that it could be used as a weapon if Palpatine's able to, get in.
Right. I love how all the fans just immediately started going, so this is how we rewrite the sequel trilogy, right?
Right.
Because that was kind of the big thing when the World Between Worlds was introduced,
Sure.
which
Yeah.
In the middle of the sequel trilogy.
right. But as you had mentioned, Ro, it's pretty much always been there. It's always kind of been hinted at as well. There was a particular scene in I don't think I got it, but it was in season 1 of Rebels, where Ezra gets his Kyber crystal, he gets it out of the temple when he talks to Yoda through the world between worlds, basically. It's even got all the different symbols. Like when he's in the temple, it kind of like fades to black, and then all these symbols pop up. And so I think you're onto something with the whole it's always been there. There's just different ways to kind of tap into it. And so the official Wikipedia, it's always funny. The world between worlds, also known as the Vergence Scatter, was an extra-dimensional plane within the Force that served as a collection of doors and pathways existing between time and space, linking all moments in time together. And I do have a clip from Rebels that they actually basically just come out and say that immediately.
Portal. It's not just a way into the temple. It's a
pathway between all time and space. He who controls it controls the universe.
The spice must flow.
So that, like, automatically you're already thinking that it's like a time travel device, right?
Right.
Like that's kind of what I thought. And in a way, like Ezra did use it as a time travel device. Like I'm pretty sure Ahsoka was dead up until that moment. So he already messed with, you know, the dudes from Loki are going to show up any moment,
right? Yeah.
Because he created a branch in the multiverse by saving Ahsoka. But like you said, Phil, Palpatine was just trying to weaponize it, which was really interesting. What would he have done with it? Just gone back and killed Yoda when he was a baby? Like what? Like what do you
found ways to put himself into power sooner? Found ways to extend his lifespan? Who knows? Sure. Palpatine was he was a scheming bitch.
Yeah, he was always scheming for sure.
I mean, that was kind of the whole idea, is that he always had at least one or two plans that no one else knew about.
Right.
So,
and this one was quite the crazy plan, though. And it just,
well, because
I feel like he wanted,
when they first found the temple, like when the Inquisitors first found it, Vader was like, "Oh, well, Boss Man's gonna be happy."
Now, is that the temple that Thrawn has on his ship? Because there's that scene where Ezra is with Palpatine, and Palpatine shows him, like, takes him through a temple that they have basically on the ship. Do you remember that? It's in the series finale of Rebels.
Oh, man.
And Ezra turns himself in, and Thrawn takes him to like this hologram of Palpatine.
Yeah.
And then Palpatine takes him through this. It's like they carved the temple out of the ground and put it in Thrawn's ship. I couldn't
see Thrawn doing that, like taking the remains of it and just being like, "No, this is mine now."
I guess, but it was very interesting, like doing all the research on here and like seeing that. I was like, they just jacked a whole temple. And now they can access the world between worlds. So Palpatine has like different access points. He's got the pensieve that he uses when you see him for the first time with like the blue fire, when Ezra and Ahsoka are in the world between worlds. And then now he's got this other device through this makeshift temple or something. So he's got to have other entry points.
Yeah.
Right?
Theoretically.
I mean, and when you look at like when they go into the world between worlds, and this is the biggest thing, is you see all the different portals. There's so many different portals. So it just, I don't know. I guess the best way to kind of get into it is I have this interview with Dave Filoni that I found, and I wanted to listen to the first minute of it, and then he kind of clarifies what it all is, and you know, we can kind of agree or disagree with Dave here. So let me play the first little bit.
The world between worlds, then, you know, it's not about time travel. It's really not about time travel at all. It's just about a place where everything comes together, and you hear different things echoing throughout time.
This is our most desperate hour.
Because it's all fluid in that moment, in that place. It's not this material thing that's linear. Everything is occurring all the time. And Ezra is more in tune with the things that are directly related to him, like when he was on Malachor and saw Ahsoka, like when he saw Kanan die. These things reverberate to him, and he understands them more. The other voices he doesn't even understand. He doesn't know those people.
Hello?
So, big question there is, with the world between worlds, do you only see parts that are related to you? Like, is Ezra, and when he's in there, is he only seeing parts that are connected to his life?
I don't know, because he says,
do you know what I mean? Like,
there. Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're shown.
Yeah.
We are
Right.
only shown those relevant bits because we as viewers know who all of these people are as we're hearing those voices. But Ezra wouldn't have known. Kanan probably wouldn't even have known who half of them were.
Well, and then you flash forward to the Ahsoka series,
Mhm.
and Ahsoka is in the world between worlds.
Yeah.
But she doesn't go through a portal. She just gets thrown off a cliff. So, and again, it was just her, like, her world between worlds. Like, she only saw things that were related to her.
Mm-hmm.
Even Anakin had mentioned it at some point where he was like, I don't remember this battle. And Ahsoka's like, well, that's because this was the Siege of Mandalore. You weren't there at this point. So, and that's a whole other discussion right there. Anakin being there and mentioning that and taking her through this little journey is a whole other discussion that has to do with the Mortis trilogy that we'll get into in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Because that part's crazy. But right now I just want to focus on, is it based on you, or can anyone get into the world between worlds and go anywhere in time and space and manipulate it, if you will? Because we already know you can do that. Ezra already manipulated it by pulling Ahsoka out and making sure that she didn't get killed by Vader.
Is that something anyone would have been able to do? Or is it just something that, Ezra was able to do because, like Filoni said in that interview, because of his connection to Ahsoka, to that moment, because he had been there. Maybe he was able to intervene in that moment because he had been there, just on the other side of the door.
But it's not time travel.
No.
It gets so confusing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think I find it intriguing. It's not time travel, but it's a place where space and time converge, and you get into a lot of Einstein stuff here with with science, pseudoscience, and stuff like that. When you think about it, they say that every instant in time exists everywhere at any time.
Yeah.
You've got weird stuff like quantum entanglement. You've got stuff where they say, a particle, if it travels faster than the speed of light, all time stops, and it exists everywhere, which to me kind of makes sense, because if you're traveling at faster than the speed of light, you could be here and there and over there and everywhere at the same exact time, but time, it doesn't tick off because you're everywhere.
Right. And that kind of brings up does time even exist, or is that just a construct made up by humans?
Right. And there are experiments about time and how time can be manipulated, but only if it's observed. So I think those are the type of questions that I like asking myself and other fans about this type of lore, because it really gets you thinking. It really gets you kind of examining your own belief system when it comes to science, and it just really gives you a starting point really to examine, what you think the world between worlds is. And I would have to agree that it's not time travel. It's I have a feeling, to me, when Ezra pulled Ahsoka out, he crossed the line, and
he fucked up.
There are certain rules, call it the prime directive or whatever it is you want to call it. Sorry, Star Trek fans, but
is it possible that Palpatine was only able to find him in there because he reached through and grabbed Ahsoka? That disruption,
like, sent a ripple through the Force,
kind of is what alerted Palpatine to his presence.
Didn't they show that in Rebels? Like when he was in that temple, and then he ended up creating a vision of his family to go and cross over to them and bring them back.
Yeah, well, Palpatine was doing that to him. He was like telling him that he could go save his parents.
Right.
And Ezra was like, but then everyone else would die. And he's like, so do it. So Ezra, I mean, he learned from Ahsoka in that moment, I guess, to not do that. Because I think,
she convinced him that, if he tried to pull Kanan out,
right.
If he tried to pull Kanan out, that they'd all die. Because without Kanan there to hold back that explosion,
right,
the rest of the crew would not have made it out.
And then I think him realizing that when he was seeing his parents, it was kind of the same situation. He's like, well, if I save them, then nothing else happens and everything changes, and now I don't have my lightsaber gun,
Pew, pew.
Yeah, that was. I watched that whole episode with Ezra talking to Yoda in the World Between Worlds. Basically, that was kind of before we even knew what any of that was. It was just like
because that was season 1.
Yeah, but he made that dumb lightsaber going on it, man. I was really glad when that thing got broken because I was like, good, now we can have a real lightsaber. Get shit out of here.
That's funny.
But another really interesting tidbit about this is it was first mentioned, like it got a nickname, the Place Between Places, in the Rise of Skywalker Expanded Edition. Now, I've watched Rise of Skywalker in its entirety once, and so I was never going to go out and find any sort of like expanded editions of that movie.
No interest, huh?
But it's Rey apparently had seen it and realized that Ben Solo had fallen out of existence, so she couldn't see him in the World Between Worlds. Like, he wasn't there. Yeah.
Weren't they going to do something like that in The Force Awakens? They shot a Luke Skywalker on Bespin scene with Rey approaching when Vader and Luke were fighting on Cloud City.
They might have done.
Oh, that was in the like flashback when she touches the lightsaber. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
They did like it kind of showed Bespin, like she was kind of going through the hallways of Bespin.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like, at least.
Yeah, in the book it's a lot more fleshed out.
Which tracks? I mean, that.
Right.
Yeah, that's so. And it seems like our flashbacks, World Between Worlds things, because we're always seeing like people are hearing voices, or Obi-Wan Kenobi is like him being a Force ghost. Is he coming through the World Between Worlds? Like, do Jedi now exist there? Does that make sense? Like, is this their kind of like, not necessarily heaven, but like just where they all go chill?
Their realm.
Yeah, their realm. There you go.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. It feels like if you become one with the Force, wouldn't you become one with everything that's connected with the Force? And that would be the world between worlds.
That would make sense, yeah.
That kind of brings up your clip too, Ro. So let me play that really quick. Hang on, and then we'll discuss a little more.
Through the Force, things you will see, other places, the future, the past, old friends long gone.
It's right there.
Yeah.
It's right there.
And he says through the Force. So
right.
I think you're absolutely onto something. With it being, it's just always the world between worlds has just always been there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and when we first discovered or we first started seeing these episodes about the world between worlds, and people started to debate its importance, I always went to that clip in The Empire Strikes Back, and really thinking about that line. Obviously Yoda already knew. I don't even know if George Lucas knew back in 1980, but
Yoda sure did.
But Yoda sure did, exactly. And I think it worked out fabulously. But yeah, it's a higher plane of existence where everything exists at once. It's fascinating to me, and it's even more fascinating because Yoda refers to it in 1980.
Yeah, and it seems like it's one of those things that not only is it fascinating, but it's something that if you wanted to reboot something, you could absolutely use this as your vessel to do it.
Yeah,
and I kind of like how broadly written some of the stuff was in the original trilogy, because that allows for a lot of kind of wiggle room with the interpretation of things now, 30 some odd, 40 some odd years later.
Right.
Yeah.
You seemed hesitant about using this for like reboots or something, Ro.
You know why? Because I don't want an MCU style like multiverse for Star Wars. I think it messes things up, and it's confusing enough in the MCU. I wouldn't want that. And I know a lot of people kind of jump on the bandwagon that this could be the place where we can have different endings and different things.
Sure.
It'd
be like a what if series through the world between worlds, which would be kind of cool.
I wouldn't even want a what if series for Star Wars either, because
because then you get some things where like, actually that'd be kind of cool.
Damn it.
We already had one of those. It was the old expanded universe.
Right.
It's true.
That's all what if now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they could do a little more Star Trekian with it when it comes to the world between worlds, because you could still reboot the universe, but keep the original universe intact without really destroying anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they did it with the Chris Pine series and Spock and stuff. So I don't know. It's something that, of course, I've read online. A lot of people that like the world between worlds like it because it's a way that they could reboot the sequel trilogy, or even like some people. I've heard some people talk about rebooting the original trilogy.
Hearsay.
That'd be crazy. That'd be crazy.
That would be nuts. But and I wonder too, and I know we got a taste of it in the Ahsoka series. Anakin came back, et cetera, but I'm wondering too if Filoni has any plans, and I'm sure he does, to go back to that world between worlds to try to expand on its meaning some more,
right?
Or maybe do something that affects the galaxy in some way, or just I don't know. I really wonder if they're going to go back and maybe explain it some more, or play in that sandbox some more.
It seemed like the Ahsoka series was really looking to dive more into World Between Worlds and the Mortis stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Because you had that big father statue at the end. I do have the last bit of that interview kind of expands a little bit on what Filoni was all about or thinking about when it comes to that. So let me just play the end of that little interview here.
Of doorway. It's like you're on an elevator, getting off on different floors and different times. It's more like what the wolf tells Ezra. It's more about knowledge. Knowledge that you can use for your benefit of good, or knowledge that will lead to destruction. That's what it's about. But it's not my intention that it be this ability to walk through into somebody else's world. We have to keep being dedicated to being original and creative, and sometimes we take chances, and sometimes we do weird things like create Bendu or, mysterious wolves. But I think as long as you work off the principles of the Force that George set up, that it doesn't change it, and you don't erode what makes Star Wars special.
That's interesting because it seems like they're just throwing ideas at the wall. They're like, let's throw a Bendu in there. Oh, let's do a world between worlds. Let's see what sticks.
Well, it's funny because Bendu is another aspect that I really am intrigued to learn more about.
Yes, and there's not much of anything when it comes to the Bendu. Just those few episodes in Rebels. As far as I know, I mean, there could be like some books or comics or something that reference. Is Bendu? Is that his name, or is he a species? Is that the species?
Right. I don't know. And originally, the Jedi were called the Jedi Bendu.
That was the thing. That was
original script.
Yep, pulling back from the early drafts as far as the name there.
Yeah. So. In Filoni talking about how it's used a lot more for knowledge, kind of solidifies Ahsoka's use of the world between worlds, because Anakin was using it as like a training ground. When they ended up showing up in the world between worlds, or when she was there, that's all it was used for. There weren't really any portals that she went through. It was more just Anakin showing her what was going on and giving her one last lesson.
This is why I feel like Ezra crossed the line, because he didn't use it for knowledge. He used it to effectively change something that was outside the realm of how to use that realm.
I mean, it's not like he was handed a manual when he walked through the temple wall. Through that portal.
But then again, like, did he break anything? Because Morai was there. The owl was right there at that portal, kind of looked like guiding him to help Ahsoka. Which, again, leads me to the Mortis trilogy. The Mortis gods, because the owl was the owl from the sister. Like, that was the sister's owl. And so I'm wondering if Ahsoka has a lot more to do with the Mortis gods and the like use of the world between worlds. Like, is she a special chosen Jedi that can access it at any point in time? So that allowed Ezra to pull her through. You know what I mean? Like,
was it the connection to the daughter?
And that's what I'm saying, because the daughter basically put her life into her,
into
save
Morai. Yeah.
And so it's weird. Like, if Ezra even tried to change the past with Kanan, would he have been able to do it, or was it only okay because Ahsoka had that connection with the Mortis gods?
I almost feel like it would have been a house of cards, especially with Kanan.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it could have failed miserably. Like, he might not have even been able to go through the portal, or he did it and everything just died.
Right.
But yeah, there's so many questions about this whole thing. Would you like it to be used more? Like, would you like to see it more in the like greater galaxy, whether it's books, comics, movies, TV shows, like, or is it better left a mystery?
I would hate to see it overstay its welcome. It's something that should be used when it can be well written and well implemented, and not just be kind of the
a crutch.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
So like, one of my favorite things, talking about for going back to time travel shows, there was an interview talking about Doctor Who and how, the Doctor has the TARDIS and the Doctor has the sonic screwdriver. But one of the best ways to complicate a plot is to prevent him from using one or both of those tools and make him work with other stuff in the environment. And so it's just kind of a way to keep the writers from necessarily relying on either of these things that could be a get out of jail free card for any kind of situation, and prevent them from over relying on those. And I think that we should treat something like The World Between Worlds in the same way. It should not be just the solution to everything.
Sure. Do you think they'll mention it in the, well, apparently they're making that Dawn of the Jedi movie, which is supposed to take place thousands of years in the past where the Jedi were born. Do you think we'll see more of it then?
Potentially. I kind of like the idea of The World Between Worlds having existed before the Jedi.
Just always been there.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. And I feel like the authors should make a final determination, whether it's in public or private, to exactly how the World Between World works. Mm-hmm. And then they could utilize its functionality for story advancement instead of, picking and choosing and plopping things as plot devices. Because right. I think in the long run that might hurt the concept of World Between Worlds. Mm-hmm. You just mentioned that Ahsoka entered one of the World Between World portals by just falling off a cliff. She didn't enter like an actual doorway. That's kind of a little bit of what I mean when they don't know, they haven't established like set rules, set guidelines on the how, the who, the why. But in retrospect, you can say, well, somewhere by that cliff there was a door, and when she fell, she went through it. But that's kind of lame.
Mm-hmm. I've said since the Ahsoka series, and I think pretty sure at least Justin like really ridiculed me about this, but I'm pretty sure that was a near-death experience. And yes. That like she and that this also kind of brings me to my point earlier of, is this where the Jedi go when they die? Or is this where they sit, in their purgatory or whatever? Like, because I don't think that there was a portal there. I really and truly believe that Ahsoka had a near-death experience and that was her World Between Worlds. Like her version of it. She'd been there before, so she knows what it is. Mm-hmm. And so in this near-death experience, she's taken back there and seeing her master and, all that stuff. And this is why Anakin had never been to that battle, because it was her near-death experience, not his. Like, and you never know. Anakin could have been a Force ghost at that point as well, and reaching out to her in her World Between Worlds. But I'm pretty convinced that was just her kind of dreaming it in a way.
You don't think she was ever actually back there?
No, I don't think she was actually there. No, I think that was just her, like I said, her going to the light kind of moment.
And I know we talked about it a lot at the time, but
yeah, you'd have to think about that and maybe go back and watch some of those episodes, because if that's the case, does Anakin bring in new information? And if so, how would that have happened if she wasn't in this realm?
I don't think he brings in any new information, because it's just them reliving some old battles and then her admitting to him that she wants to live. Like, it was just I think it was Anakin just trying to get her to wake up, because when she does wake up, she's in the water. You know, like the world between worlds.
They find her in the water when they fish her out again,
and the world between worlds floods while she's standing there, and so then she wakes up underwater.
Yeah. So do you think Anakin really, the actual character of Anakin was never there, and it was just an apparition, a ghost per se of what she remembers Anakin to be?
Yes.
Okay.
And that it was her way of telling herself that she wanted to live and she wanted a Padawan, because there's a moment in there when Anakin is like, "Are you sure you even want a Padawan?" And she's like, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "Well, it's a lot of hard work." And she goes, "What?" And he's like, "I'm just joking." And she gets all pissed about it. And so it's like her confronting herself with the fact that, does she want to train anymore? Is she like, does she believe in the Jedi? Does she like believe that it's still good? And then her deciding eventually that yes, she does want to train, and yes, she does want to live, is what brings her back to the surface. You know what I mean?
Sure.
That's just, I mean, that's kind of my take on it. I it's so hard for me to believe that she just fell off a cliff into a random ass portal, you know?
Right. Same here. Yeah.
With the fact that Ezra had to sit there and like figure out a picture puzzle and turn hands and follow some wolves, like, I don't know, man. I think it was a good misdirect for Filoni and the Ahsoka writers to be like, oh, let's make everybody think that she's there, and who knows, maybe they'll finish up that little storyline in the second season, because they're dealing with the Mortis gods for sure.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
The way that they're gonna get back to the other galaxy is by walking through a doorway in the world between worlds. That's, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think the whales are gonna let them call on them again, because a bunch of them got killed last time.
Right.
So anyway, those are just, I don't know. I can't wait for Ahsoka to come out, and a lot of it has to do with this aspect of it. This is the best part about Star Wars, is that extreme mythology, you know, where you're like, oh my god, I just want to know more about this lore, and I want to get into it. So I was hoping Andor would have World Between Worlds, but there's no Jedi.
Yeah, I was gonna say it wouldn't have made any sense for him to.
That'd be kind of funny.
You
Andor
just
walks through a random portal.
You just see Ezra reaching up, pulling Jin and Cassian off of the beach at the end of Rogue One.
Hey guys, figured I'd just save you. Oh man. What else? What else did we have here? I got oh, speaking of, I guess, the Ahsoka World Between Worlds, Justin had his. I brought this one-chimer back from Ahsoka, and he had his little thing.
One is never too old to learn, Snips.
So there's that, again, to kind of solidify that she was just there to learn that final lesson of, does she want to be a real Jedi, and does she want to live?
Yeah.
Plus, you get Anakin calling her by her nickname from Clone Wars.
Yeah.
That's
cool.
That's absolutely why Justin picked it in that episode.
Oh no, I remember.
Did I have anything else? Oh, we were talking about if things can change, and I did pull a clip. It's a little long, so I don't think I want to play it anymore, but it was a clip of Ezra talking about how he can change things.
He's at least convinced that he can.
Yeah.
Right.
But then that's the moment where Ahsoka's like, no, dude, you can't change anything. That's not how that's gonna work. Let's see. Anything else you guys wanted to talk about? I feel like we kind of covered everything. Was there any other like theories or ideas you guys had about the World Between Worlds or anything like that?
No, I just think it's fascinating, even as brain fodder, just to kind of think about You know, play with it in your hands, try it out. You know, it's those little timey-wimey things that are always so fascinating.
Yeah. That's a big point of like controversy is time travel in Star Wars. Do you think time travel should be in Star Wars?
Not me. No.
Time travel is in literally everything else.
Yeah. That's
I
true.
mean, I was playing Final Fantasy the other day and it's in fucking Final Fantasy. Like, what?
In all fairness, it's been in Final Fantasy for a long time.
Well, I was playing 7. I was playing the remake of 7. I never beat it. So I get to the end of it, of the first edition of the remake, and you can tell they're going back in time. And I'm like, are you serious? More time travel?
Yes, always more time travel.
I just asked Google if time travel is possible, and it says no.
Oh well, Google's correct.
Only to the future.
Huh. Okay. Interesting.
Yes.
And
One minute at a time.
And when you're driving west.
Right. What? It's 8 o'clock again?
Yeah. I think I would agree that I wouldn't want time travel in Star Wars, like at all. I think because it's in so much other media, it'd be great to leave it out. You know?
Yeah, and not only that, Phil said, you know, I think it just messes things up and it becomes too much of a crutch.
Mm-hmm.
They'll depend on it too much. Writers will. You know, there's a lot of time travel, like you said, in everything. But when you really think about it, you know, you can probably select a small group of stories in all the franchises that have time travel stories that are really, really good. You can probably use 4 fingers, and out of everything that has time travel, there's only a small amount of stories that are really, really good and that use time travel in a really, you know, perfect way, creative, well written, thoughtful. The
Something
rest
that
is
makes
just
sense.
something that makes sense. The rest of it is just like, it's just too easy.
I think the Marvel time travel thing has worked okay. The idea of it in Avengers Endgame was, I think, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
The way that they like introduced it, but the way that, as Phil has mentioned, the way that they have used it as such a crutch over the last 5 years of storytelling has been obnoxious.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that if Star Wars were to ever do that, it could be devastating. I don't know if people would even. I don't think people would receive it very well. Keep that shit in Star Trek, you know. Keep it over there on that side.
Totally.
Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about?
Honestly, I think we covered a lot of things pretty well.
Yeah. Obviously, these episodes are going to be a little bit shorter because we're not discussing 3 episodes of Andor at a time. And we're not really focusing too much on breaking a lot of stuff down. We're just kind of chatting, you know, about cool things in Star Wars. So I've enjoyed talking about World Between Worlds. And next episode in 2 weeks from now, it's either going to be Saturday or Sunday. That's kind of however it works. Summer's weird for us over here, but we are going to talk about the Mortis gods and kind of dive more into those. So I think there will probably be some more World Between Worlds talk, Ahsoka, Rebels, and then we'll get into some Clone Wars talk as well because the Mortis trilogy was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another one of those stories where people really like it or really hate it or don't understand it, or
people love to theorize about Mortis gods and where they are and who they are and what they do and stuff.
Yeah.
So
and I think the key to understanding them, I think, is you have to go back to George Lucas and his his predilection to take into account real world religions and spirituality and maybe peel back the layers of the science fiction aspect of it and really maybe extrapolate some of the traditional things that a trinity of this type represents and apply Star Wars logic to it.
That was yeah. That was when I first saw the Mortis gods. I was like, oh, that is the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit all the way. Like that's
yeah.
So yeah, I agree. George Lucas was pretty good about connecting real world stuff with his universe. So, Ro, where can people find you, and what are you doing other than the book club lately?
Well, let's see. We drop new episodes every Thursday on the audio feed, and we do live shows on Saturdays when there's something to talk about, like you guys. But actually, this Saturday, if you guys are into Star Wars trivia, my co-host Brad is going to be spearheading and running a Star Wars trivia show Saturday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 Eastern. And you should join us and see if you can answer some Star Wars questions in the chat. We've got a panel of about 6 or 7 folks that are going to join us from all across the Twitterverse. So that should be a lot of fun. Just come and hang out and bring a beverage and some sunscreen and your blasters because it's always sunny on Scariff.
Oh, I love that. And of course, we're going to have like links and all that stuff in the show notes here. Phil, is there anything you'd like to say before we get out of here?
Hey, it's almost Ren Fair season. If you couldn't, those of you watching couldn't tell, the goatee's back. So it's pirate time. So I will be still here, but I will probably be tired,
garb.
very tired for the next 2 months. Because I'll be working weekends for the Colorado Renaissance Festival for the next 2 months. You should come find me, hang out. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, I got the Pokecast that I do every other week, so that link will be in the show notes as well.
Wait, Josh.
What?
You're a Pokemon fan?
I got my girlfriend into Pokemon. That's why I have the circle for the camera, because behind me it's just a giant stack of Pokemon cards. I don't want to talk about it. But yeah, if you guys are interested in Pokemon, check us out. It's the very best Pokecast, and the link will be in the show notes. So
he actually does know kind of what he's talking about on this one.
Oh man, it's funny. Shay got a deck of Magic cards from some of my friends because they're trying to convince us to play Magic, and I'm like, you guys are assholes. It's already hard enough to find Pokemon cards. But anyway. We will be back in a couple weeks. Thank you all for listening. You can find Quest Me anywhere you listen to podcasts, and on most social medias. Those links are also in the show notes. So click on them, give us a like, give us a follow, and join us in 2 weeks when we talk about the Mortis trilogy. For Quest Me, I have been your host.
I'm Phil.
And I'm Ro, right here.
And of course, my name is Josh. And we're going to talk to you very soon. May the Force be with you.